Hello and welcome to Clay to Canopy, the show where I attempt to make just about everything from the ground up. And welcome to Ode to the Pumpkin, an autumnal cooking series. In this video, we're going to be making some pumpkin risotto waffles. So come on, let's do this. I'm calling this one a kitchen experiment, as probably 80% of the things I do in the kitchen are total experiments. I wanted to highlight the pumpkin in ways that maybe people don't often think about. I had locked in on my other dishes and I was really looking for just one more dish to fill out this month's recipes. I was talking to my mom and she has suggested I do a savory waffle. Really like the idea of the savory waffle. And arancini are the little balls of risotto that are breaded and deep fried, sometimes stuffed with cheese and veggies or whatever other things, meats. People usually put meats. I don't personally eat it with meats. I didn't want a deep fried dish because I'm trying to make things a little lighter, a little bit less fattening. So I thought what I would do is combine the arancini in a savory waffle. So I guess it's not an arancini anymore, right? Because arancini stands for little oranges, and in this case it will not be a ball anymore. I have no idea if this is going to work. We are going to experiment with this, but to get us started, I am going to be making a pumpkin risotto. I am using a veggie broth, a low sodium veggie broth, risotto rice. I also have some white wine, 2 cups of pumpkin that was a garden pumpkin. And usually when I do a big pumpkin, I will peel the whole thing, boil the whole thing in a batch, and then separate them to 2-cup packages and freeze them. So that's what this was. Thawed it out and threw it into the blender to puree it. I also have sauteed about 1/4 of an onion. I only had red onion. Usually I would use a yellow onion here, but it is what it is. Use what you got on hand. I also have 2 cloves of garlic that I also sauteed, and then I have some sage and rosemary and my salt. First thing I'm going to do is pop my pan on here. I'm going to throw my rice in and get it toasted just a little bit. I have my used and abused wooden spoon that I absolutely adore. While I was building my dragon, I was listening to Beautiful Creatures book series. One of the caretakers, she practices hoodoo and she draws her power from her wooden spoons. She calls it the one-eyed menace. After reading that series, I realized I always have this go-to spoon when I'm creating my kitchen magic. So it's like my kitchen wand. Anyhow, so I'm just toasting up rice a little bit, getting some color on it, and then I'm gonna start adding my liquids. To speed things along, I like to microwave my broth. So you're basically going to be adding in broth and letting the broth sort of cook off, letting the rice absorb the broth. But now, since we are adding in these other flavors of the risotto, I don't want to go too heavy with the broth. I want to get my other ingredient in here and at this early stage. So I'm going to add my pumpkin in. It's going to change things a bit. And I'm going to also add in my onions and my garlic, and I got a sage rosemary mix for my herbs. I'm just making sure I keep it wet, so I'm looking at it and I need to add some more broth here. Okay, so let it keep going. Sage is already minced. Oh, smells good already. Smells so good already. I'm gonna dump some of this in while I'm talking. I crumpled up my rosemary because I don't like the texture of the rosemary. When it's dried, it's like too fibrous. I need to keep more liquid in here. I'm just gonna keep adding this liquid and it is gonna all cook off. I'm also gonna add in my wine here. And go start off with about 1/4 of a cup. You want to keep mixing this, keep an eye on it, stir it. As the liquid boils down, you're going to continue to add more water until your rice gets close to cooked. And when you are about 5 minutes out from the rice being cooked, you will stop adding your liquids and let it cook off that extra liquid to thicken the rice. So I'm about 8 minutes in, and I added a couple of scoops of some salt. I would say that 1 scoop is about 1/8 of a teaspoon. So I got about 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt added in because I'm using a low sodium vegetable stock. I prefer to use these lower sodium ones and then add in the salt, because a lot of times especially when you're boiling things down, you can very easily over salt things. Getting the lower sodium sort of helps me control the salt a little more, and then I can add in what I need. It's thickening up. I've lowered my heat to where it's not spattering at me. You want to simmer, and you do, even though this is a non-stick pan, you do want to keep it moving. All right, my rice is pretty close to done. I'm just going to cook off the excess moisture. I'm going to turn this off, set this aside, let it cool. I am going to leave the cover off, and in doing so, it will continue to steam off a little bit more of that liquid. This is the size of the waffle iron I'm going to be using to make these. It's very small, very cute. Now that the risotto is cool, I have this silicone muffin mat that I'm going to use to freeze the risotto, so that I'm hoping to make it easier to bread. But I'm going to spray this with some cooking spray. And then I have some cheese. Going to be mixing in. Alrighty, so I am going to take some of my risotto, pack some of this cheese into the middle, more risotto, basically an arancini ball, right? And get it into this muffin tin. Then these are headed for the freezer until tomorrow, when I get a nice firm freeze on these. Probably could get away with just putting these on a cookie sheet. They look pretty firm. I wasn't sure how much my risotto had set up, if it set up well enough. My arancini is frozen, and I'm going to set myself up this little assembly line where I'm going to have some flour here. I'm going to scramble these eggs a bit, and then I have breadcrumb. The waffle iron is heating. It's maybe too big for this freaking waffle iron, and it sure is. Alright, let's see what happens here. Oh, doing something. Totally forgot to spray it. Having one of those very off mornings. I think I should have made these into patties instead of how I did them. This very well may become an air fryer situation. I'm going to leave it a few minutes and see what happens. As the waffle iron begins to heat the arancini, I'm able to keep pressing down on it and getting it to create a patty. I think it's going to be alright. Smelling good. I just think it needs longer. Number one, because it was frozen. And number two, not a quick thing. It's a waffle iron. Usually they take a couple minutes for a waffle. I'm going to give it like 2 minutes. Let it get really crispy. See what happens. So it's looking pretty good. You know, it's just going to all depend on how crispy you want to get it. I sprayed it again with a little bit of more olive oil so that I can get it a bit crispier. My goal here was to do an arancini with a little less fat. So rather than having to deep fry it, but you know, of course now we have a pumpkin risotto waffle instead of an arancini. But hey, it's going to pretty much be same flavor palette but without all of that extra fat. And I will be very happy with that. I will consider that a success. Yeehaw, that was my own fault. I did not properly spritz this the first time, like I should have. Okay, so I'm gonna go again. Actually, not too bad, it looks pretty good. You gotta start it off this way, and as it heats, you just give it a bit of adjusting. And so I'm letting it hit, and then slowly pressing down on this lid. And when I get about halfway, I've been pushing the ball back. It doesn't take much to get it to that point. I think in the future, rather than using this muffin tin, I would make it more of a flat patty. I would save myself all of this problem. You live, you learn. This is why they're kitchen experiment. I wouldn't call them kitchen recipes quite yet. They're experiments. I think that one adjustment though, starting out with a patty shape would have done me. I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to get a patty shape and I just had this tin to sort of hold it in place. I bet if I filled them less, we would have been in business. Alright y'all, here they are. gorgeous looking things. I think these turned out not nearly as bad as as they started out going. So I think if you plan on making these, the trick's gonna be to pre-freeze patties, you know, flatter patties. Don't use the muffin tin thing like I did. But I think you could totally make up a whole batch of these, pre-make them, cook them under, and throw them in the air fryer when you're ready to consume them. I think that's like the way to go. These totally would be great for meal prepping. All right, let's dive in. Here we go. And I always say, never trust a chef who doesn't eat their own food. So, hello. Yeah. Healthier version of, I guess we're gonna call this a pumpkin risotto waffle. That is good stuff, good stuff. I was debating if it needed a sauce. Like, you know, you could serve this with maybe a marinara or a pink sauce or, you know, some kind of creamy butter sauce. I don't think you need it. Wow, it's good, it's cheesy. Whoa, yeah. I'm gonna finish this off because I haven't had lunch yet. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, share, and subscribe if you have not done so already. And I hope to see you soon.